Hey there, guys. On today's episode, Academy Award winner Michelle Yeoh is going to do a Star Trek Section 31 movie. Galaxy Quest, the series, is finally coming to Paramount Plus. They're moving forward on that. Is it better just to go in blind to a movie and just skip trailers altogether? Did Marvel and Kevin Feige decide to wait too long to bring in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four? Mortal Kombat 2 officially begins shooting this summer. The WGA overwhelmingly agrees and votes to authorize a strike. Please don't let there be another writer strike. James Gunn has announced that pre-production on Superman Legacy is now underway and how important this movie is going to be to the future of the DCU. The Russo brothers say they'd love to direct a Batman movie, and Jonathan Majors' PR firm and his management company have both dropped him. What kind of implications will or will that not have? That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV, and streaming, not just giving you our opinions, but giving you information and context so you can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely opposite from ours. Joining me here today in the studio back there, of course, is Ray Ora. Mine and Ann's friend, Jennifer, is here. She's graciously agreed to help us out for a few weeks with some behind-the-scenes stuff. Of course, Jonathan Voico is here running the show. The delightful Chris Carr is here. And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making the show part of your day. And here's how today's show goes. The first part of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Second part of the show, we're going to take your questions that you guys have sent in to our tip link. And you can send in a question to be read on the show on the tip link anytime 24/7 at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And we will get to those in the second part of the show. Also, a little bit of housekeeping here. Want to remind you guys that if you need your fix of the John Campea Show today, but you can't be in front of a YouTube video, good news, there's an audio-only version of the show simply called the John Campea Show Podcast. Go onto your favorite podcasting app of choice and subscribe to it so it'll be there when you need it. All right. So some of you may or may not know that before going into law, I actually went to seminary, went to Bible college. I studied theology, hermeneutics. I had to learn Greek so I could read the most ancient of the New Testament texts, a little bit of Hebrew even. I even had to take a little bit of Hebrew. Now, in my years of studying theology and the ancient texts, one of the things that I learned was, an ancient religious truth about the human race. God favors the Toronto fucking Maple Leafs. That's right.
I knew this is what we were building to.
They are God's team. It is irrefutable, and I will hear no heresy.
The Maple Leaves, of course, created in their image.
The eighth day, God created the Maple Leafs. That's right. And today, their playoff journey begins. My Toronto Maple Leafs, who have not won a playoff series in nigh 20 years. 19 to be specific, but it just rounded out to 20. They have not won a playoff series in 20 damn years.
So God's team, but he's not really doing a lot of miracles for him?
God's been resting.
God helps those who help themselves.
There's a lot of other things happening.
How many weeks are the playoffs?
I can't remember how long they go.
Come on, let's get this over with. God.
I mean, for the Maple Leafs, it might be 7 days.
Yeah, let's
7 days and over. But yes, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
On the seventh day, God said, no more.
Yeah, and by the way, for those wondering, they have not won the Stanley Cup in my entire lifetime. The entire time I've drawn breath on this earth. God's team has not won the Stanley Cup. I've never even been to the Stanley Cup Finals. But it's been almost 20 years since they've even won a playoff series.
Is it one of those things where even making the playoffs now doesn't even matter to you? Like, are you so jaded?
Well, no, they've missed the playoffs so often that when they get into the playoffs, it's good. Look, they look good this year.
Oh, okay.
They look good, but they're playing a tough Tampa Bay Lightning team. But I believe this is the year. This is the year, ladies and gentlemen. Sing it from the mountaintops. The Toronto Maple Leafs are going to win a playoff series this year. Anyway, with that down, guys, let's get on to some stuff here, shall we? We're going to start with this. I was very pessimistic about the Star Trek Discovery series when it came out. But when it did come out and I finally sat down and watched it, and I watched the premiere episodes, I'm like, you know what? This is actually really refreshing. Now, I know the Star Trek Discovery was not for everybody. I got that. But for me, it was refreshing. They were trying something new in a very old and stale franchise. And listen, you're talking to somebody who's a fan of the franchise. But as a fan of the franchise, who my mom let me watch the original series, like obviously on rerun because it was a bit before my time, but watching the original series and then watching Star Trek The Next Generation and watching Deep Space Nine and watching Voyager and, all that kind of stuff, it is an old and tired franchise. And I love the fact that I really did enjoy that Discovery was trying new things. Now, one of the highlights for me was Michelle Yeoh playing Philippa Georgiou, a captain and an empress in the Mirror Universe. And I really, really liked her character quite a bit in it. And there have been rumors going around that for quite a while that they might be looking at doing a Section 31. And of course, if you know anything about the Dominion War and stuff like that, Section 31 is a very important presence in the universe of Star Trek. But they were talking about doing a Section 31 series maybe with Michelle Yeoh headlining it. But now the news has come out. Paramount Plus is actually going to do a movie called Star Trek Section 31 that now newly minted Academy Award winner, the reigning, defending best actress in the world, Michelle Yeoh, is going to be starring in the series. Now, this is what it says over at Variety. Per the logline, Emperor Philippa Georgiou joins the secret division of Starfleet tasked with protecting the United Federation of Planets and faces the sins of her past. I'll jump down here to Michelle Yeoh's comment. She said this: I am beyond thrilled to return to my Star Trek family and to the role I've loved for so long, said Yeoh. Section 31 has been near and dear to my heart since I began the journey of playing Philippa all the way back when this new golden age of Star Trek launched. To see her finally get her moment is a dream come true in a year that has shown me the incredible power of never giving up on your dreams. We can't wait to share what's in store for you. And until then, live long and prosper unless Emperor Georgiou decrees otherwise. I love Michelle Yeoh. I've loved her ever since Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and probably long before that. Now, look, I think Star Trek has really been, on TV, has been taking a little bit of an upturn lately. Picard Season 3 has been well received. Strange New Worlds is the highest rated Star Trek series of all time, even going back to the original series. Now, of course, that's up to debate for individuals, but I thought Star Trek Strange New Worlds was really, really fantastic. Discovery, I've enjoyed. Discovery's been a bit hit and miss. Picard itself has been a bit hit and miss. I liked season 1 quite a bit. Season 2 was shaky. Season 3 has been quite good. So they've been on a little bit of an uptick. And the idea of doing this, it reminds me a little bit of maybe trying to do something like Andor, where let's tell the story about the side of the Federation that needs to get its hands dirty. Let's talk about the stuff in the shadows. Because, the comparison is to Star Wars, right? Star Wars, you always see the heroes and the glamour of being the rebellion and fighting for freedom. Yeah, but they never showed you the people who had to get their hands bloody. They never showed you the dark stuff that had to happen in order for a rebellion to take place. And that's kind of where Rogue One and a little bit where Andor comes in. I really like that. And if this Section 31 movie that they're working on with Academy Award winner Michelle Yeoh, if they can kind of embrace a little bit of that, I'll be down. I'll be down. So hopefully this is a continuation of the momentum that Star Trek has been on with Strange New Worlds and Picard Season 3. Or maybe it won't. Maybe it'll end up being bad. We'll find out for sure. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Michelle Yeoh, Academy Award winner Michelle Yeoh, is now returning to the role of Emperor Georgiou. She's going to be in Star Trek Section 31, leading that cast. I really am excited about it. We'll see if it's any good or not, but for now, I'm going to have high hopes. What do you think about that? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's get on to this, shall we? One of my favorite movies in the 90s was Galaxy Quest. Obviously, a little bit of a Star Trek theme here. Galaxy Quest was clearly a little bit of a spoof isn't the right word, but it was a bit of a parody. if you will, not a straight up parody like Airplane, but a bit of a parody of Star Trek, obviously, and other sci-fi properties of the time, but obviously mostly Star Trek. Alan Rickman was so bloody good in this.
By Grabthar's hammer.
I
by
shall
the Sons of
avenge you.
Warven.
Oh,
I'll be avenged.
I loved him in this movie so much. The whole cast, Sigourney Weaver ruled. The whole cast was just fantastic. And I believe it was a lot of our introductions to a young, barely a child actor by the name of Justin Long, who is in there, who has actually gone on to become one of my favorite guys in the business. I'm an unabashed Justin Long fan, actually. I really, really like Justin Long. Anyway, of course, after Galaxy Quest aired, there was talk for a while about there trying to be a series. I think it was all the way back in 2015 that Amazon actually kind of secured the rights to do a Galaxy Quest. And their idea, if I understand it right, was to do a series with the whole original cast. And unfortunately, those plans got side-bumped in 2016 with the tragic passing of the great Alan Rickman. And then it's passed hands. It's been passed between different companies at different times. But now it looks like Paramount Television is like, you know, we're going to do Star Trek and we're going to parody Star Trek all on the same thing. This comes to us from the folks over at Deadline who wrote the following. Paramount Television Studios is taking a new stab at Galaxy Quest TV series based on the DreamWorks cult 1999 sci-fi comedy movie. The project, which is in early stages of development, is set up at Paramount Plus. It is executive produced by the film's producer, Mark Johnson, via his Grand Via Productions. There is no concept or writer yet. Reps for Paramount Plus and Paramount TV Studios declined to comment. All right. Look, obviously, they have not said this, but I think it's fairly clear they will not be doing the original cast. That's fine. I mean, I think that would probably be an expensive endeavor. What I'm curious to know, though, I forgot Sam Rockwell was in this too.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell was so good in this. What I am, and the main question that I will have, though, is this supposed to be, this new series, a continuation of the events of Galaxy Quest? And now there's new human crew members aboard the Galaxy Quest, and they're still helping this alien race, you know, find its footing and they're facing new things. Or is it going to be kind of a redux, a relaunch of it, and a starting from scratch kind of point? I'll be honest with you. I think there are pros and cons to both. I would be totally fine if we found out this is a page one restart of the story of Galaxy Quest. I'm okay with that because I got the original movie. I love the original movie. And if you want to try something different, I'm all for it. At the same time, if they're going to say this is a continuation of it with, you know, Rickman's son and the captain's thing and whatever daughter, I don't know. If they wanted to do that and continue it on, I think there are possibilities there too. But it is the one question that I have burning in my mind. Is it a continuation or a page one restart? And either one could work. Anyway, Chris, you know, we hear about this. There's been talk for a long time about trying to get a Galaxy Quest TV series going. It sounds like now they've got a partner in Paramount who really does want to do it. They've got the producer of the original movie on board. What do you think? First of all, what do you think about Galaxy Quest in general?
Perfect.
What do you think about the idea of doing a new series of it? And what direction do you think they're going to go?
Oh, I love this movie so much. I think it's wonderful. I think it's so quotable. Sam Rockwell in this too, as Guy Friedman, is so funny. Just everyone in this delivers. They're so at their A game. And this has been a long time coming, you know? People have been working on this for ages. There was an iteration of this at one point with Simon Pegg trying to write scripts.
That's
for
right.
this.
There
he
was
attached to it. Because, you know, he's already doing all that Star Trek work. Might as well get him in on the parody, satirical kind of side of it.
The writer of Succession tried writing a pilot for it as well at
This
one
has
point.
passed through a lot of different channels. And of course, they had a really, really big blow once, you know, Alan Rickman passed back in 2015. And that, I think, honestly, is going to probably put a kibosh on the original cast being involved in an everyday kind of basis. I
Right.
feel like we're probably going to do this with a new set of actors going through all of this. That's at least what I would do personally. And maybe they can all pop in and appear, and we can have, Sigourney Weaver make cameos, or we can have, Tim Allen come in and make a cameo or something. But I feel like starting from scratch with this concept and just bringing in a new cast, I think is probably the best move here. Or you make Justin Long like the Tim Allen role or something.
Oh my God, you cracked the code.
Right?
That's it.
I think that'd be amazing.
That's a great idea.
Make Tim Allen just like a really shitty executive on the show or something who's having like a real hard time with stuff. I think there's a lot of things you can do here that still honors the original film, but makes this something fresh and new.
You know what that sounds a little bit like? What's the show with Saved by the Bell? I was thinking, what was the show Bayside had?
Not the new class one, but the
they
new
did
thing.
They did the most recent thing, right?
Yeah.
Where they had one or two cast members, and then they had a couple of other original cast members that would pop in now and again.
Yeah.
So maybe they could do something like that.
I think that's the way to go. That way you kind of pay tribute to the nostalgia factor and people who are diehard fans of the original, but then you can play around with it and you don't have to be married to that original format.
All right. So far, 2 lessons today. Number one, Galaxy Quest is awesome. If you've never seen the original Galaxy Quest, you absolutely must. It's one of the greatest semi-spoof kind of movies you could possibly hope for. Lesson number 2, the Toronto Maple Leafs are gods.
God is cruel to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah. We're going to keep track. We're going to keep track of that here today. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I love the idea of revisiting Galaxy Quest. Hey, listen, they might try it. It might suck. Who cares? We got the original movie anyway. Maybe it can be a great new addition. What do you think they should do as far as direction for something like this goes? Do you have any ideas? Whatever those are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's go into a Mint Mobile hotline questions of the day here now, shall we? If you guys have a question for the show and you'd like to hear your voice on the show, go ahead and call our hotline number anytime 24/7 at 951-268-4259. And our first question in the hotline today here is, maybe you should just start going into movies cold without watching trailers. Check it out.
Hey, John and crew, love you guys. Chris from New York. I was thinking I might want to start going blind with everything from now on, like no trailers at all, because basically they are spoilers, and see if I have a better outcome with movies and TV shows and possibly video games. Going blind. I don't know. What do you think about this? Thank you.
All right, we'll come back.
Oh, and apparently we're back. Sorry, guys, we're having technical issues in here. Hopefully you guys were able to hear the question.
I wanted to hear Chris from New York.
Anyway, here's the thing. We often hear a lot of people asking, is it time that we just kind of forego trailers? We don't need trailers. Actually, a lot of times when a big movie comes out, a lot of people are asking, should they even do an ad campaign? Should they even put out any trailers? Right? I remember when Endgame came out, there was a lot of people when it was about to come out, a lot of people saying, oh, Disney doesn't need to spend any marketing money. This movie sells itself. And of course, that is completely not true at all. Disney understands this, and that's why they spent more money marketing Endgame than any other movie in their history. And that is not disconnected from the fact that Endgame ended up being the #1 box office film of all time, at least for a while, until, Pandora came back in a re-release. At any rate, so should people just go in to a movie blind? There are positives and there are negatives to it. And there are, I think I would make an argument that there are different circumstances when one answer might be better than the other. For example, let's say you are a massive Guardians of the Galaxy fan. You love, love, love Guardians of the Galaxy. All right. You already know Guardians of the Galaxy is 100% for you. You know that already. So maybe for you, you could skip out on watching, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailers. You could maybe skip out on those. Maybe. But if there's a movie coming out, like, I don't know, let's go back to, what was the Searching follow-up one?
Missing.
Missing. Let's say Missing. Well, you don't really know anything about the world. You don't know anything about, hey, I heard this movie called Missing is coming out. Cool. I'll just go watch it. I won't watch a trailer. I won't find out anything about it. I'll just go watch it. I don't know if that's a good use of your time and money. Because I kind of believe this, and I've said this for a while, and some people don't like the comparison, but I hold that it's true. When you go to see a movie, you are investing your resources of money, because it's going to cost you a little bit of money, to buy movie tickets. Maybe you need to get a babysitter. Maybe you got to get an Uber to the theater. You're going to drive there, so you're paying a little bit in gas or a little bit in electricity, depending if you drive an electric. Once you get there, maybe you want to drop $10 and buy yourself a popcorn or something like that. I don't know. It's an investment of money. But the other resource you're spending is time. And that is a far more limited resource and one you cannot replenish. So when you go to the movies, you are investing your resources of time and money. And whenever we are about to invest our resources, I think we should go in informed. Like, if you needed a new laptop, would you just go to Best Buy and your job depended on it? Would you just go into Best Buy and just go, you just close your eyes at the laptop wall and just go, I'm going to pick this one. Are you going to read any reviews? Nah. You going to look up any of the promotional material on it or nah? You going to read any of the specs? Nah. Let's get Kate home. See how it goes. That would not be a good, wise, informed decision-making process of how to invest your resources. And so while I think there may be the odd, rare occasion when maybe going in blind is fine, I think it's better that we as consumers, and we are consumers, people who watch movies and TV, we are consuming content. I think it's important that we as consumers make informed decisions. You know, watch a trailer. Get an idea if this is something that's going to be for me or not. Listen to hear what other people have to say about it and how that jives with what your thinking process is. So I think for the most part, it is much, much wiser to watch a trailer before going in to see a movie. But there may be some unique circumstances where maybe not. Chris, I don't know. I think, listen, we've all probably had the thought now and again was, well, that's one I don't even need to watch a trailer for. But yeah. If someone were to come to you and say, Chris, what's the better way to go? Watch the trailers, don't watch the trailers. How would you answer that?
Oh, I'm a big trailer person. But also, I mean, this comes from, and I'm trying to reprogram myself from years of having to cover content where I had to look for every Easter egg in a trailer or had to do all of this. So I've always been I have so many expectations person, and I'm trying to work on that. Now, my husband, Logan, who you know suspends his disbelief for everything, he still watches Moana and goes, I don't know if she's going to make it. And he's ridiculous. That's his comfort movie, too. It's so
Logan is coming to Vegas, right, with us? Yeah, Vegas, that's going to be a fun week. Which is going to be
the best. He's so fun. I'm biased, but he genuinely is very fun. But so he, a lot of times, too, if it's properties he already knows about, he does not watch the trailer. So all the Star Wars movies that came out, it was just after Force Awakens. He's like, I don't need to watch a trailer. I'm just going to see it. And anytime a trailer would come on, he would leave the room so he could go in completely blind. And he seemed to have a bit more of an enjoyable time than me. But again, he also suspends his disbelief so much that anything can happen in a movie. He's like, that person was the killer? And you're like, yes, babe, of course they were. For me, I like to make that informed decision for all the financial reasons that you talked about, but also because sometimes just a movie poster or a title or an actor attached to something doesn't tell me what the movie is. I was this close to agreeing to go see Beau is Afraid because it was just, there's a new Joaquin Phoenix movie out. Oh my gosh, and he plays different ages. That seems cool. And then finally my friend Megan was just like, that's from the director of Midsommar. It's not going to be a fun time. Oh, okay. I should wait to see that at home so I can scream and leave and take a lap because people don't like when I do that in a theater. So for me, I think being informed is the way to go.
I get for the business, it makes a lot of, it makes them money and brings in more people to watch a movie. But the excitement before when trailers weren't available on YouTube and you used to have to go watch a movie in order to see like most trailers. Yeah. That excitement of going into a movie with barely knowing anything is like completely done now. For real. Like, it's true. It's hard to get away from.
But it's like, to your point that you said at the beginning of that sentence, right? I don't think it's coincidental either that we saw box office start to take a noticeable uptick around the era of YouTube and when movie trailers started coming out on YouTube. Because you're right, like I bring this up in my documentary, Movie Trailers, A Love Story. A lot of us forget, there was a time not long ago, around the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs won a playoff series, when there was no YouTube. When there was no YouTube. And if you wanted to see a movie trailer, you literally had to be in the movie theaters to watch a movie trailer, right? So ever since the era came out where the studios had a way of just putting their marketing, their trailers, deliver it right to people via YouTube, it was around that whole era that you started to see a big rise in stuff.
One question for everyone here. What's the last movie you watched without seeing one trailer? I could tell you mine. I'll always say this. It's Pitch Black with Vin Diesel.
Ooh.
I remember
That's a while ago.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend at the time, we were like, oh, what's that? And then we just said, oh, let's just go watch it. So that was like ages.
I honestly cannot remember the last time I saw a movie without a trailer.
I can't think of it.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jonathan, you too?
I mean, it's been a while. I used to be one of those that just didn't want to watch the trailers, and now it's just sort of unavoidable. So yeah, it's been a while because of what I'm in. But
Oh, you don't remember?
I might.
Nobody? No one
I
gets
might
an
not have-
answer for me here?
no,
I might not have seen
Mine
the
was
trailer for
everything,
Bell.
or
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
You saw Everything Everywhere All at Once without a trailer?
yeah.
What was your experience like so then when you watched it, like you weren't prepared for that at all?
I thought it was better without watching the trailer.
Wow,
but-
that is interesting.
very
Yeah, I
interesting.
can't remember the last time I did.
John Wick 1, too, was one of mine. That's probably the best movie I saw without seeing a trailer.
Well, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
much more recent than Pitch Black.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about that? Do you just like going eeny, meeny, miny, mo? Oh, there's a movie and just go see it without any trailers? Do you like to obsessively watch trailers? What was the last, I love the question Ray asked. What was the last movie you saw without there being a trailer to it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's do another hotline question here, shall we? And they're asking a really interesting question about basically, did Kevin Feige wait too long to bring in the X-Men and Fantastic Four? Check it out.
Hey, John, how you doing? This is Matt from New York. Just wanted to ask a question. Do you think that Marvel waited too long to introduce the Fantastic Four and X-Men, seeing as though it's been years since they've acquired them? And now it seems to, their post-Endgame, situation with their films hasn't been working out. Maybe they could have introduced the Fantastic Four much sooner. What do you think on that? Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling that in. This is when the Fox getting acquired by Disney thing was going down. Obviously, that acquisition was about far more than Marvel. Like it was about way more. I would say X-Men and Fantastic Four was probably like a 5% of the reason that they got it. They got it for IP and rights issues and all that kind of stuff. But for us in film fan circles, it's understandable that the number one question that a lot of people had was about how fast till we get X-Men and how fast till we get a new Fantastic Four. Because they had taken a lot of kicks at the can at Fantastic Four. And we had a lot of X-Men movies. Some not so good. Some of the best comic book movies ever made. Days of Future Past, X-Men 2, yada, yada, yada. I still think Michael Chiklis was a fantastic Ben Grimm.
He was. He
I
really
love
was.
Michael Chiklis as Ben Grimm. And I like Chris Evans as Johnny Storm. The movies weren't great.
It's this section right over here. I'm just.
By the way, the guy who played Reed, I've never known how to pronounce his name. I've met him. I've talked to him face to face. I was Ion Gruffeld. I've never known how to pronounce his name in like my entire life. Anyway, so that was the big question that a lot of people were asking. When are they going to come? When are they going to come? And, every time a new Marvel movie was coming, all the fans, I've been doing this a long time, and all the fans, every time a new Marvel movie was coming out, this is the one. X-Men are going to pop up in this one. And then the next movie is coming up. I guarantee that the X-Men will come up in a post-credit scene. And then the next one, I bet you Reed Richards is going to come up. And for 5.5 years, every single time, I still remember the absolute 100% conviction that people had that because when they saw Thanos in the trailer, Thanos had the 3 scars. Everybody said, Wolverine did those scars. Wolverine's going to show up in this X-Men movie. Here we come. I mean, that was because we get excited, right? We're fans. That's what fans do. We get excited. And sometimes we let our excitement get us a little bit carried away. But Kevin Feige, right from the beginning, told people, and nobody believed it, it's going to be at least 5 years. Now, let's go back to this article. This article comes from 2018. So go over to my screen here. It would appear, this is, from Complex. My former employer, by the way, is Complex. Bringing up the fact, talking about, when is Kevin Feige going to bring the X-Men in? Now that Disney's got Fox and all this kind of stuff, said this. It would appear that you might be out of luck if you have any desire to see the X-Men make their way to the shared MCU over the course of the next several years. This may have been one of the first things that popped into your head when Disney and Fox merged last month, but It's still a long way off, according to Marvel Studio head honcho Kevin Feige. A lot of people need to remember this, what Feige said. In fact, Feige said that the X-Men characters will not find their way onto the shared cinematic universe populated by Marvel's most bankable heroes for, quote, a very long time. Feige made these comments to IO9 during the recent event intended to hype Avengers Endgame. He also said that the studio has another long-term plan that will begin in 2020 after the conclusion of the rapidly impending blockbuster plus July Spider-Man Far From Home, which is the culmination of 11 years and 22 movies build up. It'll be a while, he said. It'll be a while. It's all just beginning in the 5-year plan that we've been working on and yada, 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 yada. So anyway, he told us right from the beginning, it's going to be years off. Now, the basic heart of the question that the person is asking us is like, look, I think all of us, even the most diehard of Marvel fans, can agree that Phase 4 was a bit of a step down. Can we at least all acknowledge that?
No.
That whether you hate the MCU, love the MCU, whatever, I think we can all at least agree on the basic tenet that when you look at phases 1, 2, 3, and 4, Phase 4 was probably the weakest. All right? I have some stronger terms I could use, but let's stick with the diplomatic terminology that we can all at least agree with. Phase 4 was a bit of a step down, right? Some gold, some fantastic things in Phase 4, no doubt. Some not so fantastic things in Phase 4. So the question is, now that we can look back in hindsight, because we're in Phase 5 now, we look back at Phase 4, and in hindsight, we can say Phase 4 wasn't so hot. Did Kevin Feige make a mistake by not more rapidly deploying a launch for X-Men and Fantastic Four? Let's address the Fantastic Four one first. Absolutely not. No mistake was made for Fantastic Four. A lot of hardcores will think, man, we need a new Fantastic Four. We need a good Fantastic Four. But the reality is not many people, not even comic book readers, read Fantastic Four. I remember back when we were doing AMC Heroes, when Marvel just straight up canceled Fantastic Four. Because at the time, more people were watching Heroes than were buying Fantastic Four comic books. That's not good, because we didn't have a lot of viewers in the grand scheme of things. Not to mention, they've taken a swing and a miss. Well, if you want to count the old one, you could say 4, but they've taken a swing and a miss 3 times about trying to get a Fantastic Four movie going. By the way, I contend, Jonathan just had a picture of the most recent Fantastic movie up. I contend that the most recent Fantastic Four movie, the one that Josh Trank sort of directed, that the first act of that movie was actually quite good. I contend the first act of the most recent Fantastic Four was quite good. I remember me and Harloff went to the Fox lot. We got invited to Fox. We sat down in their theater and watched the new Fantastic. And we had no we thought this movie's going to be a disaster. We all thought the movie's going to be a disaster. We like Josh Trank, but we thought this movie's going to be a disaster with all the stuff we've been hearing, blah, blah, blah. And I remember about the end of the first act, Christian and I turned to each other and like, what's going on? This is actually pretty good. This is not bad. What's happening here? And then it went straight downhill after that. Anyway, a lot of people want it, but the reality is, amongst average movie-going fans, I don't think there was a lot of hunger for, we need new Fantastic Four. I just don't think that's where average film fans were at the time, or have been. So I think absolutely not. They didn't need to rush in Fantastic Four. X-Men is a different thing, though, because X-Men is far more popular amongst the average moviegoers. They had some stumbles with their movies, but they've had some big hits and some great stuff. I still think Days of Future Past is a top 10 greatest comic book movie of all time. Logan is a top 3 greatest comic book film of all time, maybe the best comic book film of all time, depending on the day you ask somebody. So could they have done something differently? My contention is this: it wouldn't have made a difference. The problem that Phase 4 suffered, while you could say they overly rushed to throw a glut of new characters at us, that's a legitimate criticism. I understand that. I hear it. But the main problem is not that they threw an oversized glut of new characters at us all at once. It was not that the whole audience can't really see any kind of what's the story of the MCU right now. That's a problem, but it's not even the core problem. The core problem is they have not made movies that were at the same quality level that they made in phases 1 through 3. And it don't matter if the title on the movie is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, or if the title on the movie is X-Men: A New Beginning in Florida. Doesn't matter. If you're not going to make the movie's quality, it doesn't matter what title you put on it. And so at the end of the day, I actually think, even though I'm not a big fan of Phase 4, I think Kevin Feige made the right decision. They already had their plan. They already knew the direction that they were going. And the fact that they got X-Men and Fantastic Four, they didn't feel the need to just go, well, let's just shoehorn them in. And I think Kevin Feige deserves a lot of props for that. So I will land on the side, Chris, that no, Kevin Feige should not have rushed in the X-Men and should not have rushed in the Fantastic Four. I think if they had their plan, they should have stuck with it. And quite frankly, I would rather them not be doing X-Men films when they're struggling, and maybe have them do X-Men films once they've gone through a bit of a struggle and hopefully have learned some lessons here. I don't know. What do you think about it? Do you think maybe they could have gotten X-Men or Fantastic Four off the ground a little sooner?
I mean, I think there's something to be said of waiting for us to kind of get through the growing pains here to bring in such excellent characters.
Excellent characters.
Excellent characters.
Take a drink, everybody.
Yeah, I did.
So I think that's a good point. However, now I'm just wondering about how do we shoehorn them in here? Because that's the thing that I keep coming back to is, sure, I proposed it on this show of what if the snap, heightened that mutagenic gene and that accelerated evolution for certain people. So we did have some mutants around, like Namor, other people, but then we have, a huge exodus of mutants happening all over the globe, right? Maybe that's something that happens because of that cosmic energy. But then how do you fit in stories like a Magneto, right? Because something like that I think is really, really important, of just having a few mutants here and there, I guess, who've been in the shadows this whole time, who experience the atrocities of man. I mean, you can make it work, but their absence in the grand scheme of things, if they've been here all along, is really, really big. We've had cataclysmic events happen that the mutants were just like, pass. Y'all
not my problem.
Not my pig, not my farm. Y'all kind of shitty, right? So I do think that's an issue.
I have never heard the phrase, not my pig, not my farm. Never heard
it. Yeah, we say it a lot in our house. One, because Logan grew up on a farm. And two, because I'm from the South and we say all kinds of dumb shit. Like, you could swing a cat, you'd miss it. So, little Southern lesson for everyone today. But
it's
the
all right,
Fantastic
Chris,
Four, we're all the same. We're all the same.
Oh, God, don't say it, Ray. Don't say it.
When it comes to beef. So, we are. The Fantastic Four, I do agree that that's one that they can show up kind of whenever. As always, big shout out to RMB, because I loved the idea of them being trapped in the quantum realm or something of that nature, right? And then being kind of thrust into modern day society. So we have a fish out of water situation. We have a tie into some things we've already established, like the quantum realm just being this like weird nebulous time and space situation. And then we can play with some of the tropes of the Fantastic Four being very intrinsically tied to the 1960s. They were the first family. They had more of a kind of sitcom vibe to them in the comics initially. And so I think you can kind of pop them in whenever you want to. Or maybe when the snap happened, some other shit was happening with them and they were just like, this is not the time for us to talk about how our bodies are changing. There's a lot you can still do that makes sense for them narratively.
Rob had a theory that I don't know what they're going to do, but it works on a lot of levels. One of Rob's theories about Phase 4 and Phase 5 is that every single one of the movies we've seen in the MCU in Phase 4 and Phase 5 all take place in their own universes. That after the events of Endgame, there has been this splintering of realities and time, and then that kind of half got expressed in Loki, and that the reason you don't really hear a lot of talk about this giant planet-sized being coming out of the Indian Ocean, or this other planet-sized being that appeared above the skies and Earth saying, I will return for judgment, and nobody decided to talk about, is maybe because every single one of these things. So you could theoretically say mutants have been in a different universe. So you could say, the universe that Ms. Marvel is in. And maybe part of the thing that we're getting with the Marvels is not only that these characters are interacting, that maybe their universes are merging. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't buy into the theory personally. I just like the theory. Mm-hmm. You could do a lot of stuff there. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about all this? Did Marvel make a mistake by not bringing in X-Men and Fantastic Four sooner? Or do you think they played it smart and decided not to rush them or shoehorn them in and stick to their plan? How would you have approached it? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this last thing before our break here, shall we? You know, when they came out with a brand new Mortal Kombat movie, I was actually quite excited about it. Not because I've been one of these people that have been dying for a new Mortal Kombat movie. I do love the original. It's a terrible movie, but oh my God, I love it.
It's so fun though.
Oh, Christopher Lambert is Raiden. Come on, really? But I don't care. I loved it in all of its awfulness. I thought it was great. But I was not one of these people that I was really excited or looking forward to or chomping at the bit to get to see another Mortal Kombat movie. But then the trailers came out. And when they showed that trailer of Sub-Frickin-Zero, like stabbing a guy, then freezing his own blood spurt, and then stabbing him with an icicle made out of his own blood, I'm like, give it all the Oscars. Give it all the Oscars now.
What award is that?
What's that? Yeah, which Oscar is that? Not really sure, but they got to make up a category for it. You got to make up categories for casting, stunt people, and blood stabbings. That's the new route. That being said, Ray, I still remember we went to the theater at that one mall to go see it.
Yep.
This was not a good movie. It was not a good movie.
There was one factor for us.
What was that?
It was the Cole. The Cole story seemed like I just couldn't attach myself.
Yeah. I thought you said it was Cold.
No.
That wasn't Cold.
I couldn't attach myself to that character for some reason. I meant everything with Sub-Zero and Scorpion. If the whole movie was Scorpion chasing Sub-Zero the whole time, that would have been a perfect movie to me. I think with Mortal Kombat, this next one, they just got to keep it simple. Like, I mean, showcase the characters and their abilities, like make them so different. And, that's what I had the most fun with the first movie, when you got to see each individual character have their own, personality. Yeah. But yet they showcase their abilities, really well. Like Kung Lao, too bad they killed him off. It's my favorite character with the steel.
They can bring him back.
Yeah. But yeah,
can
just
you
keep
imagine
it simple, I think.
The decision, though, for them to make Cole as the lead character was, I remember going into it thinking, well, that's a questionable decision. Mm-hmm. But let's see how it plays out. Imagine if they made a Super Mario Brothers movie and the lead of the movie was not Mario and was not Luigi, but they made up another character, Giuseppe.
Their little nephew.
Yeah.
And Giuseppe was this character nobody had ever seen. It was not in any of the games. And they made Giuseppe the lead character in the Mario Brothers movie.
He wears a blue hat.
No. He wears green and red hat, split down the middle.
Oh shit!
Because that was what Cole was. Like, he had everyone's power for some reason.
Yeah,
right?
we see him like an amalgamation of a bunch of characters, but that would not have gone over well in the Mario movie. So that was strange. But listen, if you did like that first one, and listen, I thought to myself, I didn't like this movie, but there's potential here. I'm down to see another one. Well, if you've been looking forward to the new one, it's coming, and they start shooting soon. This comes to us from the folks over at Joe Blow, who wrote the following. Replying to a comment from Geek Vibes Nation on Twitter, Mortal Kombat producer Todd Garner seemingly confirmed that the sequel will start shooting in Australia this June. So in 2 months. By responding, I was wondering why I had an apartment in Australia. Mortal Kombat 2 will once again be directed by Simon McCoy. I've never known how to pronounce his last name. McCoy? With Jeremy Slater, Moon Knight, writing the script. With filming on Mortal Kombat 2 just over the horizon, we should start hearing more about the sequel before too long. It's expected that filming should wrap by September. So we'll be looking at a 2024 release date probably for this. Chris, simple question. Mm-hmm. Did you like the first Mortal Kombat? Do you have any anticipation for the second one?
Like the 95 one or this one?
Sorry, the first one in this series.
No.
No.
What?
Okay.
It was...
What?
What?
Can we put a screen in between right here?
That's Jonathan.
I'm the screen.
So we can't scrap.
Jonathan is the one keeping you guys separated.
Yeah. No, I cover you from sneezes and coughs and everything.
That's not me.
Oh, yeah.
I always go this way. It wasn't great. it wasn't great, you know? And honestly, there's not much I'm expecting from a Mortal Kombat movie, right? I just want flawless victories and finish him and all that good stuff.
By the way, is it
Spines
just,
being
can you bring up
ripped
that
out.
last picture, Jonathan? Is it just me, or does that look like a slightly older with some prosthetics Michelle Yeoh in
up
the
there?
top middle there a little bit?
Oh my god!
You're totally
This
Michelle
confused guy
Yeoh.
with, who's the redhead with the beard? He looks confused.
That's Kano, right there.
He looks really confused.
Sorry, Christopher. I just that caught me off guard.
No worries. Yeah, I wasn't particularly into it the first time. And again, it was something we watched of just being like, this should be like fun and kind of stupid. And there wasn't enough fun.
Well,
There
not fun,
wasn't
but kind of
enough
stupid.
It was like stupid. So as long as they crank up the fun, again, I really don't need much here. I just need really bananas fights. I need spines being ripped out. I need frozen blood and stuff like that. That's the stuff that I enjoy in this. And yeah, Cole, I don't really
Cold Sore
get.
Cole?
Yeah, I don't
I
get
don't really
either.
get it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is this Death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey?
He also looks like one of the from Star Wars, one of the Inquisitors.
Yeah,
Isn't that like the Inquisitor from Star Wars?
Look,
Yeah.
if anybody knows me, I'm just a fan of Mortal Kombat. I've watched everything that they put out. Like even like there's a TNT series, TV series. There's one by Machinima that
Yeah.
they released on YouTube or whatever. I watched all the animated movies that they've released. I'm so excited for this. Johnny Cage is supposed to be introduced in this one.
Well, they teased that at the end of the last
Yeah,
one.
hopefully they stick with that because he's a great character. They'll get into the Hollywood stuff then.
They should get George St. Pierre to play Johnny Cage. I will say this. You want to see the best Mortal Kombat movie? It's called Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Bolo Young. Go watch it. That's the best Mortal Kombat movie.
No, don't anyone go watch that expecting Mortal Kombat. Come on.
It is the best Mortal Kombat movie. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Did you like? Hey, listen, there were a bunch of people who liked the first one, actually. Did you enjoy the first Mortal Kombat? Well, the first recent one. Are you looking forward to a sequel? What sort of things do you think they need to do? I think Ray is right. I think you focus on Scorpion and you focus on Sub-Zero, and you've got a winner right there. I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, listen. We still have a number of things to talk about, from the upcoming WGA strike, James Gunn talking about the upcoming Superman movie now in pre-production, Russo brothers saying they want to direct Batman, Jonathan Majors being dropped by both his PR company and his management company. We got a ton of stuff to still talk about, but before we get to that, we want to take a quick second and thank a couple of the sponsors of today's video, our friends at ExpressVPN and the great folks at MasterClass. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, ExpressVPN. Guys, it is 2023, and online privacy and security has never been more important. You see, every device, phones, computers, tablets, has a unique IP address, which is like an internet phone number and reveals personal information about you. It's super simple for somebody online who knows what they're doing to find your IP address. If you've ever clicked on a sketchy link or opened an email from somebody you don't know, your IP address could become exposed. Now that's where ExpressVPN has your back. ExpressVPN is an app that hides your real IP address and replaces it with a dummy one, keeping you safe and private. And you don't have to be some kind of techie to use a VPN. Guys, it is so easy to use. Just download the ExpressVPN app on your phone or computer, tap one button to turn it on, and you're protected. And if you like your streaming entertainment, here's the coolest part. They let you choose what country you want your IP address to look like it's coming from. This is incredibly useful because services like Netflix and Disney Plus give you different shows depending on what country you're in. So secure your family's online activity and unlock tons of new shows by visiting expressvpn.com/Campea. Use my link and you can get 3 extra months free. That's expressvpn.com/Campea. Go to expressvpn.com/Campea to learn more. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, MasterClass. With MasterClass, you can learn from the world's best minds anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. You can learn filmmaking from James Cameron himself, you know, the guy who made 3 of the 4 biggest films of all time. Improve your writing by taking screenwriting from one of the greatest who's ever done it, Aaron Sorkin. Or maybe learn how to make great comedic content by taking comedy by the one and the only Judd Apatow. And many of you guys know I'm a big poker guy, and I recently got a chance to sit sit down and watch Daniel Negreanu, one of the greatest poker players in the world, teach poker. It was absolutely fantastic. But guys, whatever you're interested in, there is a class for you with over 180 exclusive classes taught by the instructors you know and love. And you can explore lessons in any order you'd like across your phone, tablet, Apple TV, computer, and on the go with audio mode. Individual lessons range from about 10 to 15 minutes in length that fit easily into your everyday life. Guys, I highly recommend you check it out. Get unlimited access to every class, and as a John Campea Show listener, you get 15% off an annual membership. Go to masterclass.com/Campea now. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off Masterclass. And thank you to our friends at ExpressVPN and MasterClass for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, when you check out and support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So if you go down to the description of this video, you'll find links and promo codes for today's sponsors. And thank you again to ExpressVPN and MasterClass. Do you know I'm going to be teaching a thing on MasterClass?
What?
How to follow the Toronto Maple Leafs.
God damn it. I'm so angry.
MasterClass by John Campea.
Oh, wow. You're full of lies.
So is it...
All of our lips came out.
Full of lies.
Is it mostly on grappling with disappointment? Or?
Yes, how to deal with
That's
the
really sweet.
constant disappointment of being a Toronto Maple Leafs
Well,
fan.
I'll tell
That's the
you,
class.
there's something called BetterHelp you might want to check
That's
out.
right.
BetterHelp.
We'll talk about them a little bit later. All right, guys, with all that down, let's move on to the next topic here. And listen, this one is just straight up nuclear. We all remember back, what was it, 2007?
Yep.
The last time that the Writers Union, the Writers Guild of America, the WGA, was not able to come to terms with the Producers Association, and a writer strike happened. And it was like a nuclear explosion went off in the industry. It ruined a lot of shows, and it saw the rise of unscripted program, which has frankly ruined our lives. I had to sit at home and watch my wife watch the Love is Blind reunion special.
I
I'm
still
like,
haven't gotten to watch the reunion because the live didn't go through, and
you are part of the problem.
Listen, that show is trash, and I love it.
Wait, they didn't do it live?
They were supposed to do it live, and then they failed at doing it
Oh,
live.
wow, because they announced it on the
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was supposed to be
It's on
live
now.
and it
It is
crashed.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to watch it.
And they couldn't do it. It was like a bad day on the John Campea show. It's like, why can't we go
Excited
live?
about it.
It was one of those things. But that was that marked the rise of unscripted TV, and they're trying to do stuff anyway.
You're welcome, Kardashians.
They have not had any big labor problems in the past number of years, but now their current deal expires on May 1st. And it is now official. The Writers Guild members, 15,000 strong, have voted 98%, which is an unprecedented number for them, to approve the leadership to call for a strike if no deal is reached within the next 2 weeks. So basically what this means is let's say Ray was the representative of the John Campea show, and there was this big, we were having this problem with YouTube, and Ray was representing us to them. We have all collectively agreed, hey, Ray, you can call for us to leave YouTube. We are giving you the authority here that you can pull the trigger if you can't reach a deal with YouTube. That's what's happened here. The 15,000 members of the Writers Guild of America have voted to empower their leadership to call for a strike in less than 2 weeks if a deal cannot be reached. And they're coming down to the deadline. And there are some big issues on the table, and some of them they're making movement on, but some of them they're not. Anyway, this great article over at Deadline has kind of put together kind of a really nice list of this is stuff that the writers are looking for.
If only there was a video on this.
Yeah, well,
Aw.
we created an editorial video on the WGA situation that today's news has rendered our video moot and outdated.
You know, we did a real good job. What a team effort that no one will ever see.
We did, and no one is ever going to see it because we were going to.
So that's what happened?
Yeah, we were going to launch it like later today or tomorrow, and then we've been working for like over a week on this video, and then this news drops. It's like, well, our video's obsolete, so we had to kill it anyway. Here's
Why
some of
does
the
this
things that they're
article
looking
strike?
for. In compensation and residuals, increased minimum compensation significantly to address the devaluation of writing in all areas of television, new media, and features. This, of course, comes from some big issues like the old television model. There were 22 episodes. in a season of TV. Now in the streaming era, there's like 6, 8, 10. And but writers are having to write just as much and just as hard. And producers have used the fewer episode count as a pretext to pay them less. And they want that addressed. Standardization, compensation, and residual terms for features, whether released theatrically or on streaming. So basically, the way the producers have been shortchanging the writers is the writers do the work. And they work the same, regardless of if a movie then gets taken and put in theaters or taken and put on streaming. And they've been getting their residuals based on whether or not, what the distributors decide to do with it. They want standardization of this. Also, they want to address the abuse of mini rooms. Now, we talked about this on the show a few weeks ago, and it is a big problem. Chris, maybe in a minute, you can just talk about that a little bit with the issue of mini rooms. Also, let's go back to the list here. Ensure appropriate television series writing compensation throughout the entire process of pre-production, production, and post-production. Expand span protections to cover all television writers. Apply MBA minimums to comedy variety programs made for new media. Increased residuals for undercompensated reuse markets, and restrict uncompensated use of excerpts. They're also looking for an increase in contributions to pension plan and health funds because, generally speaking, writers don't have a de facto employer, so they need special arrangements like that. As far as professional standards and protections of the employment of writers, for feature contracts in which compensation falls below a specified threshold, require weekly payment of compensation and a minimum of 2 steps. Strengthen regulation of options and exclusivity in television writer employment contracts. Regulate use of material produced using artificial intelligence or similar technologies. In other words, listen, if a producer wants to use ChatGPT to generate something, ChatGPT does not get credit, and you still have to pay the writer full stuff because the writer still has to take and created everything. ChatGPT and other things like it need to be looked at as a tool, just like anything else is a tool, but shouldn't impact compensation. Enact measures to combat discrimination and harassment and to promote pay equity, and revise and expand all I'm freezing on the word. Arbitrator, thank you. Lists. Because arbitration is a huge part of with all the unions. Actually, arbitration is a major part of all the unions and how they often have to deal with conflicts that aren't necessarily covered in the agreements. This is a long list. And here's why this is particularly important. Because the DGA, the Directors Guild of America, and SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, they all have their contracts expiring too. The writers go up first. And if the writers don't get a deal done, you could see dominoes start to fall, where SAG is like, well, we're standing with the writers. DGA could go, hey, we're standing with the writers and the Screen Actors Guild. They've got to get this done. Chris, looking down this list, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here, concerns that the Writers Guild has. What are some of the key ones to you that are really, really important for the writers and might possibly be sticking points? And how optimistic are you that a deal can get done in less than 2 weeks to avoid a strike?
Well, the one that I want to talk to everyone about is this idea of mini rooms.
Right.
Because it just does seem like this odd little phrase, right? A mini room, the abuse of a mini room, what is that? So basically what a mini room is before production begins on a show, a few writers will be assembled to start breaking stories, to start coming up with some different kind of timeline situations, some kind of bare bones scripts, things like that, get a jump on things before production even begins. Now, one of the issues here is that because you don't have a deadline, these mini rooms can go from, you can be there for weeks, you could be there for months. You don't have a timeline because there's no deadline in place. So they're not being compensated as writers who are writing scripts for television shows because it's a mini room. It's not a real writer's room. It's a mini room. If you have writers in a room, it's a writer's room. Full stop. This is an easy thing to get around. The WGA has a whole statement on all of this too about how this is absolutely something where they should be working at scale minimum. Because that's the other thing is when you're doing these mini rooms, you're not even being paid what your union rate is supposed to be, which is a huge red flag item to me. Now, the other things here too, where SAG's going to more than likely stand in solidarity on are things like residuals, pensions, healthcare. The pandemic really, really was a nightmare for so many people, right? In so many ways. But when it came to healthcare for the entertainment industry, it really, really threw everyone for a loop. Almost no one was working. Our healthcare plans proved to be really, really moot. And the way that you usually are eligible to reach these insurance premiums is so hard to do. I know for SAG, I think the percentage is about 3% of its members are working actors.
Wow.
And when I say working actor, I mean somebody who probably still has a day job, like myself. I'm considered one of their working actors, and I have so many other things I do, right? I do this show, I do coaching, and I also act on top of that. This is not even thinking about, the other people who are still just auditioning, participating, doing all of that, but are union members, and you don't qualify for your health insurance unless you make so much money from exclusively acting.
I remember
or writing.
Aaron was talking about that in great
Aaron
detail too.
was talking about how it was a struggle for her and Tom to qualify, and they work all the time. So there's that issue too. One of the things that I am really worried about, though, is that because we have had such a tumultuous years, I'm worried that SAG might not stand in solidarity. If they can get some of their things done, because we already folded on certain COVID protocols, we're already trying to just be a bit more accommodating, I feel, as a union to get work. We're already struggling with commercial contracts, voiceover contracts, things like that. I really, really hope that my union stands firm with the WGA, because it's basic rights. It really, really is about workplace conditions and fair compensation. But leadership at SAG, I have not been particularly impressed with these past few years. I voted differently, and I have not been happy with how things have gone down. And I'm really, really hoping that we do lean into negotiations fully and to our best ability. No one ever wants a strike. No one does. The WGA doesn't want one. The Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television and Film doesn't want one. But these things have to come to a head, and sometimes that's the catalyst.
Will it? Do you think they're going to be able? Do you think it's going to come to a strike?
I think we're going to strike.
Oh, you just ruined my day.
Well, the Maple Leafs will do that later too.
You're evil.
I know.
You're like,
remember, I don't hurt people with my fists, just my words.
Was it Christine Denisio?
Chrissy Denisio.
Chrissy
She's a
Denisio
monster.
has made an appearance.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just ruining everybody's day.
In a brief glimmer of sobriety, Chrissy Denisio was like, what?
Guys, question is for you. Make no mistake. I know this. We want to talk about explosions and action films but make no mistake.
Huge.
This stuff going on behind the scenes right now is very important and could really upend the entire industry if it doesn't get dealt with. How do you guys see this? What do you think are the important issues? Do you think they're going to be able to avoid a strike? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Now, of course, one of the big things going on in the world of movies and blockbuster stuff like that is James Gunn, Peter Safran have taken over DC Films, and they're getting ready to launch a new era of DC. Because the previous one, hey, listen, I liked every single previous DC movie except one, and that was The Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Wasn't a big fan of the Birds of Prey movie, but I liked every single other one. But it wasn't working. The previous DC era did not work. And we could have a discussion all day about why that is and why it didn't perform up to its potential. We got to have a million discussions and debates. But fact is, it didn't. So they're now coming in and they're going to launch this new era in 2025 with Superman Legacy. And we know James Gunn is personally writing and directing this film. And today he put out a statement letting us know it's officially now in pre-production. He put out this statement that said this. He said, I am honored to be a part of the legacy, talking about Superman, and what better day than Superman Anniversary Day to dive fully into early pre-production on Superman Legacy. Costumes, production design, and more are now up and running, and he did all that while teasing out the actual front page of his script for Superman Legacy. So it is now underway. It's happening. Crews and teams and staff are now assembled, and they are working on this movie now. Production design, costume design, other areas, all things getting ready for all the work that needs to be done before the cameras officially start rolling, because there is a mountain of work that needs to be done before cameras start rolling. And they are now full steam ahead rolling on all this. That to me is what I call the tangibilization. Like Superman Legacy is now no longer this theoretical thing that could happen at some point. Now it's this real thing. It's actually happening. It's underway. And while that is exciting, it also made me stop and pause today to think about the importance of this film. And I don't want to overhype it because, listen, us in the online punditry space, we are often guilty of overhyping something, right? And making a bigger deal out of something maybe it needs to be.
Like Toronto Maple Leafs.
Shut up. You shut your whore mouth.
This is my favorite game now.
But I really started thinking about Superman Legacy and the importance of this movie. And I don't think it's over-exaggerating it to say this movie might be the most important movie, not the best movie, not quality, none of that, but maybe the most important movie that maybe DC's ever put out. Because with the background of a DC cinematic universe that struggled, right? And now you bring in this new leadership. You say now, and we got new ownership that brings in new leadership. And we're saying it's going to be a brand new day. And you got this great name in James Gunn coming in, who's had a lot of success in the industry, all that kind of stuff. That's great. And you're going to kick things off again. And you're going to kick it off with the granddaddy of all superheroes, Superman. And it ain't going to be my beloved Henry, but all right, I've gotten over, I've dealt with that. All right, I've dealt with that. Got on with my friends at BetterHelp, and I've dealt with that. So it's not going to be Henry, fine. But listen, and I don't want to put undue pressure, because I know James sometimes watches segments of our show, and I don't want to put undue pressure on James here. And everybody knows, I am an unabashed James Gunn fanboy. I am. I make no apologies about it. But I do not think it is an exaggeration to say they need this movie to work. It has to. Because after all the drama, and I'm talking about long before James Gunn ever came around, with all the drama and nonsense and noise and quite frankly, the circus that the DC universe has been, even though I like most of it, and you're going to now make this big song and dance out of we're starting new, our own phase one, if you will. We're kicking things off with Superman. And the head of your studio is personally writing and directing that movie. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that if this thing tanks, and I don't mean doesn't make money, I mean tanks in the sense that it fails with the critics, it fails with the audience, and it fails at the box office. If it does those three things, I don't think the word cataclysmic is unwarranted here. It will be straight up awful for DC. And I think that is one of the big reasons James Gunn said, he pulled a Thanos, I'll do it myself. I think that is one of the big reasons James Gunn has said, you know what, I'll take care of, I'll lead it off. I'll start the dance. I'll write this first one. I'll direct this first one because they know that this damn well better work. And I say this as somebody who's very optimistic about it. I say this as somebody who's very excited about it. I am very pro DC. I'm very pro James Gunn. I'm very pro this Superman Legacy movie. I am. But make no mistake about it, you gotta nail it. Because if you don't, you're fucked. You're really screwed. Because there is an element of people out there who, beyond confusion because they don't have any joy in their lives and nothing to bring sunshine, they actually want this to fail. It's one thing to predict something's going to fail, but there's actually a segment of people out there who want this for their own agendas, but they want it to fail. I can't ever recall in my life ever wanting a movie to fail. And if you come out with Superman and you completely fudge it, you're not just robbing yourself of an explosive start to a new era for DC, you are giving an awful lot of ammunition to those who were your detractors. And you are giving an awful lot of negative momentum to a franchise that is already suffering with negative momentum. Black Adam failed. Shazam 2 failed. I quite frankly liked both of those movies, but they did what they did. They both failed, even though I liked them. So, hey, you got a script written? Awesome. Pre-production has started? Yay. But it just made me all the more aware that, oh my God, you better crush this, man. And again, no undue pressure, I mean, towards James Gunn, but you're kind of screwed if you don't nail this thing. And sky's the limit if you do nail it. I mean, I'm talking about all the negative ramifications here. I'm ignoring the positive one. Make no mistake. You come out of the gate, you fire on all cylinders with this, you deliver a top quality Superman movie. It doesn't have to be the greatest Superman movie of all time, but a high quality Superman movie, then you're off and running. You're off to the races. but they better damn well do it. Chris, you see that James Gunn is now announced he's showing us the script.
Well, he's showing us the title page. He
Well,
could
yeah,
just
the
open up
title page.
Celtics.
It would be nice if he shows the whole script.
Right.
The pre-production has started. When you look at that, does that feel like, yeah, everything's on schedule? It is coming out in 2025. This has to happen now. What are you feeling about the progress they're making? And listen, how important, or maybe not all that important, is just this one single movie, this Superman Legacy? How do you see it?
I mean, honestly, it feels like this is moving ahead of schedule because I feel like we just started talking about James Gunn being the one who's going to pen this script. So it's phenomenal that he's rocking and rolling. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that have to come into play here, right? We're in very, very early pre-production. We just have that script. We're going to get into casting. We're going to probably do some rewrites. We're going to have, all of our technical folks involved too, because we have to find that great cinematographer who's going to work with James. We've got to find all those wonderful other puzzle pieces here. But I do think this is a real linchpin moment for the DCU. I mean, we've had a huge absence of Supes when it comes to the superhero films of DC. I mean, it's just felt looming. And it's been odd that he's not there. He's an integral part of this. And so I do think you really have to focus on him and make this film really, really solid. This is the foundation of the house they are building right now, is the way I'm viewing it.
Yeah.
Everything else, honestly, Batman Flashpoint, I hope you do well. I hope you're a great film, But this is really where everything's kicking off and starting, if we're just really being honest with ourselves. This is the new house that we're looking into. And if the foundation of that house is sloppy or poorly formed, nothing else is going to stand on that well. And frankly, I think too many people have been burned by DC recently that if they don't start off strong, they're going to just see their numbers continue to dwindle. So there's a lot of pressure on this film.
Yeah, they really can have a nice day, James. But no pressure, but all the pressure in the world.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? James Gunn is showing off the script. His pre-production is now up and rolling. The machine that is Superman Legacy is now up and running. What do you think about that? How big of a deal? How important is it that this film succeed? Maybe you feel like I'm over-exaggerating the importance of it, and maybe you're right. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's kind of stay on the theme a little bit of James Gunn, shall we? And talk about a couple of buddies of his. The Russo brothers. Now, the Russo brothers have got, they're very busy in terms of, now, they're not doing a lot of directing lately, but they are doing some directing, they're doing some writing, they're doing some producing, stuff like that. And they've got this new series coming out called Citadel. Now, while talking about Citadel, the interviewers who were talking to them about it brought up the idea of, well, listen, James Gunn has got this, because they're tight with James Gunn. James Gunn has this new Batman movie, The Brave and the Bold, coming. And they basically straight up kind of asked him, would you guys want to do a movie, a Batman movie, over at DC these days? This is what they said. Anthony Russo said this: we get asked a lot about DC characters. And Joe Russo said, obviously, James over there running it, it would be a no-brainer. We love him to death. We love the direction that he's going to take that world in. He's going to be inventive with it. And favorite DC characters? I mean, man, there are so many good ones. I always answer based on the comics I collected as a kid. And the two comics I collected the most were Spider-Man. Well, actually three were Spider-Man, X-Men, and Batman. But there have been a lot of iterations of Batman, so I feel like that's an obvious answer. Anthony Russo then kicked in and said, but it's hard not to answer that. Here's how we haven't actually gotten literal about it and specific about it, because Batman would be my favorite character for my entire childhood, but obviously it's been well explored. And this is all, of course, coming from reports coming out about them saying that they would love to direct a DC Batman movie and all this kind of stuff. All right. Now, obviously, my dream scenario, which is clearly not going to happen, my personal dream scenario was Ben Affleck directing this. Because I would,
with you as Robin.
Yeah, with me as his Robin.
Him as Robin.
I will be your Robin, Ben. I'll put on them damn tights. Nobody else may like it, but I'll do it. Chafing be damned. I mean, that was obviously my big dream. And that's clearly not going to happen. But my goodness, could you imagine James Gunn, who has worked very closely with the Russo brothers for many years? They have a great relationship. And I love the Russo brothers. I mean, they have been so generous with me over the years. Like, they've come into my offices and studios on multiple occasions. They've always been really, really, really good. They've sent me, anyway. The idea of them now putting maybe one foot over into the DC world, to me, that would be very exciting. And the idea of them maybe working on a Batman project, even something like Brave and the Bold, would be very exciting in theory. Now, I should say right off the top here, do I believe this will actually happen? I do not. Let me be clear. I don't believe this will happen. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying I don't believe it will. But theoretically speaking, were James to give them a call and say, I would love for you guys to direct this Brave and the Bold movie, and it's pretty clear that they would say yes, I would personally be very excited about it, because one of the things that I think I've started to recognize myself is that the Russo brothers, as gifted and as wonderful and as talented they are, I think they fire on all cylinders best when they have a creative studio head that they're working with, right? It's not a coincidence that their best successes have come when they've been working with Kevin Feige. And some of the stuff that has been outside of Marvel has not been my favorite stuff. I'll be honest, I love these guys, but some of the things they've done, not my favorite stuff outside of Marvel. But when they're working with like a Kevin Feige, man, they fire on all cylinders. And I think if they were in that type of a creative, symbiotic relationship, if you will, with like a James Gunn, I think Joe and Anthony would absolutely crush a Batman movie. I think they absolutely would. And again, I think it would be a wonderful, another marriage of the Capulets and the Montagues, and to bring the world of DC, I learned that from Chris Carr, everybody, to bring the worlds of DC and Marvel a little bit closer together.
I'm real proud of you.
Having some of the foremost directors that have ever worked in the MCU to now come over and do a Batman film. I think that could be fantastic. Do I believe it will happen? No. Could it? It could. Would I love it? Yes, I would. Anyway, Chris, those are really three big questions for you. Mm-hmm. Could you see a Joe and Anthony Russo directing a Batman movie?
Yes.
Will it actually happen? And how would you feel about it?
I would be really excited about it. They do great in the superhero space. It does have a little bit of a feel of X actor wanting X role kind of thing, right? Where it's just, a set of directors wants to be involved in a huge potential franchise. Details at 12. Could we bring up that amazing image, though, that you just had up, Jonathan, of a particular
of that
Batman?
Nothing character that will never be a real thing?
Terry McGinnis, who is going to have a film? Yes, he is. Listen, we are going to get a Batman Beyond film, and who better to bring on than the Russo brothers for that one? I think that could be really, really fun, because I've heard rumblings that Andy Muschietti is potentially in talks about Batman stuff too. I don't know if that's true. I think it all kind of hinges on, his film doing well.
By the way, for those you don't know, Andy Muschietti is the director of the upcoming Flash film, which we're seeing next week. Actually, you know what? I just thought of that 1 week from today.
Yeah, y'all are going to be in there.
We're going to be in, or at least me and Ray are going to be in that, because Chris has got a pre-engagement.
I will be teaching voiceover. Hey,
we're going to be watching The Flash next 1 week from today. Pretty cool.
If you want to learn about voiceover, I've got a boot camp this Saturday. I'm very dedicated, you guys.
We're going to see it, right, John? The Flash, the one that you said would make more than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
I what? When did I say that?
Yeah, I think I remember you saying that.
That was definitely what the bet was.
That's definitely what it was.
That for sure was that $15 bet. Yeah. But I think this could go really great for them. They have a great relationship with James. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't they do it? I think we could see that in the future. But again, so much of the stuff that we're talking about is more of that definitely maybe kind of camp. Right? Yeah. People sound really, really interested in it, but it's going to come down to schedules working, everyone having the same kind of creative vision, yada, yada, yada. So hopefully we'll see it. But if we don't, I'm sure they'll find somebody else to fill the shoes.
The thing that throws a little bit of a wrench in this too is that there has been some, public statements made that the Russo brothers would also be interested in going back to the MCU at some point. Kevin and the Russos have a great relationship as well. I don't know if Kevin would think it would be a great, you know what? Yeah, let's get the Russos working on DC movies.
I love that.
Or
Mommy
whether
and Daddy
Kevin
can have shared custody. Someone can
maybe
have them
Kevin
on weekends.
goes, hey, I love you, James, and what you're doing over there, but the Russos are kind of mine.
I feel like it'd be shared custody, and sure, they're going to fight over who gets the holidays.
I want two Christmases.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
No
question
one wants
is for
Thanksgiving.
you. What do you think about this and the comments being made by the Russo brothers? Could you theoretically see them going over and directing a Batman movie or anything for James Gunn over at DC? Listen, would you like it? Maybe you wouldn't. Whatever you think the possibilities or lack thereof are, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, Let's move on to our final topic here today, shall we? And that one is this. You know, the story of Jonathan Majors is going on. And, you know, while I really don't give a crap about people's personal lives and the private drama that goes on and the TMZ bullshit, the reality is when there are stories that are going on that do have a looming direct impact on the movies and shows that we will see, it's something that we need to talk about. The Jonathan Majors thing has been going on. Now, for those of you who may not have been keeping up with this, here's the basic gist of it, okay? A couple of weeks ago, Jonathan Majors was arrested for assault. I think the two charges were assault and strangulation. I think those are the two charges, at any rate. His lawyer, Jonathan Majors' lawyer, immediately claimed that they had clear video evidence, testimony, all that kind of stuff that disproved it, and that his lawyer, she was going to immediately take this evidence to the DA and get this all taken care of. Well, that was weeks ago, and the charges still stand. Now what happened? What didn't happen is something I don't know. I was not there. So I have no insight. I have no definitive opinion. And I think it's the height of foolishness to develop hard, solid opinions when you have 5% of the information. And that is what I have. So Jonathan Majors' guilt or innocence in this, I have no idea because that's not my job. All I can do is look at what is actually happening and give some thoughts on what is happening. And what is happening right now is, unfortunately, it looks like Jonathan Majors has now been dropped by both his management company and his PR company, have both dropped him now. And apparently he was on the list. I do not follow fashion, so I don't usually care, but the Met Gala apparently is coming up and they have rescinded his invitation. He's no longer going to be at that either. Now, does this, I want to be very clear about this. Does this mean that Jonathan Majors is guilty? No, it doesn't mean that. Does it mean he's not guilty? No, it doesn't mean none of this is a commentary on his guilt or not. However, it is interesting because you would think if he was in possession of what his lawyer said, they have this video evidence, and I hope they do. I hope they have this video that his lawyer said clearly shows that he is completely not guilty of anything. Who was the Dallas Cowboy wide receiver? Was it Michael Irvin? Mm-hmm. Who was in some trouble recently?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And that they had a video, and what did? He said, hey, everybody, here's my video. And they put it out to the world and showed everybody in the world. Here's the video.
Oh, man.
Right? Jonathan Majors' team has not done that. And you would think that his management company, that they would have had a chance, or they would have brought his management company or his PR company or whatever to look at this overwhelming evidence that shows, look, this is going to blow over because clearly he didn't do anything. Let's move on. And again, I am not drawing any conclusions. I'm just saying it's sad and unfortunate that apparently that didn't happen. And his own management company and PR firm have dropped him. Now, look, again, we were not in the room with Jonathan Majors and his management company. We were not in the room with Jonathan Majors and his PR representatives. We weren't there. So we don't know the exact whys or the exact hows or the exact straws that broke the proverbial camel's back. We don't know any of it. All we know is that his management company's dropped him and his PR company's dropped him. And I really hope that if Majors' lawyer is sitting on all this blockbuster, clear as day, 100% proof positive, like she claims she did, that shows that Jonathan Majors did nothing wrong, I don't know what she's waiting for. And I don't know why, if they did bring this to the DA, why these charges weren't dropped. Because as film fans, and again, I understand there are more important issues at play here, but we are a movie show, so we are going to talk about the implications on the movies that we see. I'm sure a lot of other places will talk about the other ramifications, and rightfully so. But Disney has a problem. Problem number one is that, like Ezra Miller's situation with The Flash, Jonathan Majors has already shot all of his stuff for Loki season 2. It's already shot. It's done. It's in the can. So that's coming out. And I don't think they're going to drop $100 million to go in and reshoot. Let's say things go south, and we're not saying that they will go south for Jonathan Majors. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, if things go south for Jonathan Majors and, a court date gets set and he goes on trial and maybe gets, I don't know. But then Disney's in a very tough spot. They might just straight up cancel Loki season 2. Because if he is a major player in it, and if you stuck around and saw the post-credit scenes for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, it looks like he's going to be in a lot of this series. It looks like he is a central player in that series. You can't just reshoot the whole show. I don't know that Disney's going to drop another $100 million to reshoot the stuff they need to reshoot. They might just pull the plug on it. And then, for the movie part, what do you do about Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars? I'm assuming Kang will be a part of Secret Wars. Maybe not, but do you recast the role? Do you not? Again, I just think it's an unfortunate situation to see that his management company and stuff is parting ways with him when you would think that they have a little bit more of an inside perspective on what's going on. You would think as his management and his PR representation that he has revealed to them more than we in the general public know, and yet they have decided to part ways with him. Again, none of this means he did anything. Let's be very, very, very clear about that. Let's not comment on the stuff we don't know. Let's just comment on what we do know. And this isn't a good look right now. So I hope this gets all worked out. I hope that the lawyer is able to come forward with all the stuff that she claims to have. But as of right now, the dropping, first of all, we had the U.S. military ad campaign that got pulled. Then the Met Gala thing pulled. His management company's pulled. His PR company has been pulled. They probably know more than we do right now. It's just becoming messy. Chris, you're seeing all this. We now see his teams are separating themselves from him. Is this just them maybe being proactive and trying to be cautionary to protect themselves in case things go south? Do you think maybe they've gotten more of an inside look at the situation than the rest of us in the public have? Does it mean anything? Does it not? How quickly can this get resolved? I don't know. And then what ultimately does Marvel even do? Again, focusing on the movies and the entertainment part of it, how do you see this?
It's a very messy situation. And to echo what you said too, obviously we have not seen these texts. We have not seen these interviews. We have not talked to anyone. We weren't there and we don't know what's going on or what happened. So none of us can talk about that. And I highly encourage all of you to just stay on top of this story and actually, read up on things. Don't just listen to what people are posting on the internet or things like that when it comes to the actual facts of this case later on. The court of public opinion is always going to say different things. Make sure you always go back to data, and hopefully we'll do our best to actually, talk about that when those things come to light, if it pertains to our show, right? When it comes to this situation, it feels like they are trying to take evasive action against all of these things, right? And really, really make sure that, Disney brand, management companies, brands, all these other companies, their reputations aren't tarnished along with this. It is a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation though, right? Because we don't know if he is guilty or not of these things, truly, until, that day in court. But it seems very, very interesting. I talked about how with Warner Brothers, I was very frustrated that no action was being taken for years.
Yeah, with
no
the Ezra
action
Miller
whatsoever.
situation.
And in this situation, right, we have immediate action taken. And I know that's going to lead to a lot of commentary too about why did this happen with one company or not the other? Why did this happen with one actor and not another performer? That's going to be part of this conversation too. What's really, really tricky here ultimately when we're looking at it just from the Kang standpoint is really, how much is Jonathan Majors in this series? Is it something like, All the Money in the World or the Army of Darkness, where, Tig Notaro replaced Chris D'Elia, or, we replaced Kevin Spacey.
Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead, thank you. Not Army of Darkness, Army of the Dead. Is it something where you can do those reshoots in a affordable way, something that still looks good, makes sense for the narrative? Or is he intrinsically tied to every moment of that show and you have to release it? You have something like the Flash coming out that has Ezra Miller in it that's being released because that shoot option is not ideal for them. You can't reshoot that entire film. Is that the same thing here with Jonathan Majors? There's a lot of things to really, really look into here. And it's just all incredibly awkward, for lack of a better explanation here. No one's going to win in this. No one's going to win. The people involved in the shows aren't. Jonathan Majors, regardless of, what happened with him is not going to win in this. It's just a really bad situation overall for everyone. And I'm hoping we get more information so I can say something a little bit more concrete and helpful.
Yeah, because right now that's the thing, right? We're dealing with a big lack. Look, I will say this definitively. It's what I hope. I can tell you what I hope. I hope that he didn't do anything.
I hope no one's hurt.
And I hope they're able to get that all cleared up really damn quick so he can just get back to his what was a really hot career. And we, as audiences, can just get back to really enjoying him doing what he does best on screen. And I hope that if that's the case, that's all able to be brought to conclusion very effectively, efficiently, and quickly. And if not, well, we'll see where things go on this. Guys, question is for you. The latest turn in the Jonathan Majors situation is that his management company and PR company, according to reports here in the major trades, have dropped him. Is this reflective of things they may know that we don't? Maybe it's not reflective of anything at all. We as an audience should probably always just keep an open mind, understanding that we probably don't have all the information. But it is a pretty unfortunate, sad turn of events here. Anyway, what do you think is ultimately going to happen here, guys? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's now move on to taking your questions that you guys have been firing to our tip link at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. We're going to get to those in just a second. But before we do, we're going to thank a couple of other sponsors of today's video, our friends doing their great work over at BetterHelp, and of course, my mobile service provider, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, BetterHelp. Getting to know yourself can be a lifelong process, especially because we're always growing and changing. Think about it. The person you were 5 years ago is not the exact person that you are today. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way that we do until we talk things through. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. And guys, striving for better mental health is something we should all aspire to. I've talked about this before, but when somebody goes to the gym, we applaud them for getting out there to improve their physical health. Well, it's about time that we start looking at mental health the same way, not just by encouraging the people around us to look into therapy, but by also taking the step to take care of our own mental health as well. So listen, if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a short questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, your utility bills and favorite streaming services, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know that ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been saving almost 70% a month over my old phone plan. For people looking for extra savings this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp and, of course, Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of The John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that all down, let's get over to your question show. We got a lot. We're going to have to get through them as quick as we can. So, Chris, what do we got up here first?
From John Morgan. John, you've said Star Wars is too small when it takes place on Tatooine with the same cast of characters, but Fantastic Beasts was best when it went back to Hogwarts? Larger world? Smaller world? What exactly do you want? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Tatooine is supposed to be an insignificant, if there's a bright spot of the universe, this is the furthest planet from it where nothing matters, and yet they keep going back to it over and over and over and over again. Hogwarts is supposed to be the center of the Wizarding World. It is the actual hub of the Wizarding World. So, yeah, I wouldn't compare the two. I think those are two very, very different things.
My biggest issue is everyone always talks about how Hogwarts is the safest place that they could be. And they literally send children out to, this horrible forbidden forest for detention. And there's monsters in the basement. And there's a whole bunch of people who are like wizard racists. It doesn't seem safe.
It's tough out there. Tough out there for wizard kids.
Poof. The rest of the world
You
must
gotta
be a
be tough,
nightmare.
man.
All right,
Be
what's
tough.
next?
From Dildar the Glorious. Speaking of RoboCop, I'm kind of excited for the new game coming out with Peter Weller coming back to play him. And the gameplay footage doesn't look too bad. Comes out in September.
I have not seen the gameplay footage, but I remember we talked about on the show when they announced that Peter Weller was coming back to do the voice. Just for the nostalgia factor alone, I'll probably try it just for that. All right, what's next?
From Chloe Fanning. With the day and age that we live in now, could you see classic movies like 1988's Talk Radio and 1990's Pump Up the Volume being remade with their style with today's views on social media, such as being based on a YouTube setting?
Well, I mean, no, that's exactly it, right? Like you could take things like that because, listen, it was a different era, right? Late night radio talk and all that kind of stuff, and what moves the needle on people has changed. That's why I think movies like that being remade today is a really interesting thing because of the different way culture handles the dissemination of information, thoughts, opinions, and conversation, which is now social media. I think that could really work and be done really in an interesting way. All right, what's next?
From Guzman. Speaking of old short-lived shows, one that was huge growing up in Colombia in the 90s was Manimal. Time is perfect for a Manimal reboot. It would be huge in smaller international markets, maybe.
You know what, Guzman, you're not the only one to bring it up because on the other day's show, we were talking about these short-lived series that when I was like a child, and one was Automan. Remember that? Guys, you should, I don't know if you can find Automan anywhere, but there was that. And then there was The Powers of Matthew Starr, which many people remind me, say, basically, I Am Number 4 was just a ripoff of The Powers of Matthew Starr, and you're kind of right. But then a lot of people would write in and say, John, you forgot Manimal. It's like, oh my God, you're right. I did forget about Manimal. All right, what's next?
From Aaron, I'm curious if you saw that HBO Max, or Max, stupid name, is doing a prequel series, and I'm wondering what's the point?
An It prequel series.
There we go.
Yeah, look, you know me. I'll give everything a shot, but I mean, I don't like the idea of stories going backwards. And does it work as a series? I don't know.
But it's HBO.
But
is
if it's
HBO.
HBO,
baby.
they're the gold standard.
I think in terms of it does work to do prequels because they're not all tied together. He came back throughout the centuries and then would leave. And then, so you're just watching those situations happen. Now,
but we ultimately know they never beat him.
Yeah, but he goes away, but you see whatever the influence on Derry is.
That's true. I mean, look, you're right, Ray. It's HBO. So I will definitely give it a shot. I just like, it does seem like a questionable one to me.
Didn't Hulu have some kind of Stephen King kind of anthology, loosely tied narrative series for a while?
Well, wasn't it with The Dark Tower? Was it Hulu that was going to do that? Or am I thinking of something else?
I'm not sure.
All right, Kate, what's next?
From Robert A. Davison. Since you're no longer doing after shows, can you upload the questions you answer at the end of the John Campea show as a separate video?
No, but
We did that before.
Funny you ask because the podcast company we work with just kind of pitched me an idea of putting up the John Campea show as a podcast without the viewer questions at the end, and then putting up the viewer question part of it as a separate episode. So every day you would get 2 podcasts pop up in your John Campea show podcast feed. You get the show itself, and then you'd get that. So it's something that we're looking at and thinking about. So it's interesting that you wrote that in right now. But
I would love that, John. I would love that.
That would give you, Ray's always looking for more work to do.
I'm just playing.
But
That's what I'm at.
But I don't think we'll do that for the videos, though. I think it'll all still just be a part of the show.
Right?
Okay, what's next?
Also, real quick, thank you, chat. That show on Hulu was Castle Rock. Thank you very, very much.
Yes.
That was the Stephen
Well
King
done.
one.
And that was supposed to be based on Pennywise, or
No. Totally separate
okay.
thing. Totally separate
Bunch of
thing.
Because I was like, that
camping
name
shows.
doesn't work for me.
Like there was
it
a
does not.
misery element with Lizzie Kaplan and some other stuff. It was cool. From Be Cool, Yolanda. Hey, John, I'm recovering from knee surgery.
Oh,
And I finally started watching Yellowstone. You're right. It's fantastic.
it is.
I'm all caught up to season 5. Now, Are you Team Jamie or Team Beth?
I go back and forth. Like a lot of times, honestly, Jamie is a guy who, while a bit of a dipshit, is somebody who just often gets the crap end of the stick. Like when you look at the core conflict, I won't reveal what it is for those who haven't watched the show, but when you look at the core conflict between him and Beth that goes back to when they were kids, he was a kid who was forced into a situation that he didn't want to be in, and he was being asked to do something and he made the wrong call. And I go back and forth between them.
This person just got off of knee surgery.
Yes, they
you
did.
can at least give them a solid answer right now.
Okay, fine. Here you
team.
go. In the conflict between Jamie and Beth, I side with Jamie. In their specific conflict, I side with Jamie. Okay, what's next?
From Cam and Zay. Hey, John, you continue to be a thriving inspiration for younger filmgoers, and we just wanted to thank you again for doing what you do and showing pursuing your passion can lead to wonders. You were a big inspiration for us to start our own channel, and we just hit our goal of 10K subscribers in 1 year. So thank you again, and keep bringing on the filthy.
Dude, listen, getting to 10,000 subscribers in YouTube is no small feat.
No, and in a year?
And that I still remember when I got my first 1,000 subscribers. I thought my life had changed. I thought it was like the greatest thing in the world. But just remember, don't worry about subscriber count. Like honestly, how often do you hear me on this show ask people to subscribe to the channel? Maybe once a month. Although subscriber count is really not all that important. I mean, we actually have compared to real YouTubers, we have a very, very small subscriber count. Always have. But still, whenever you see any kind of acknowledgement of your work kind of paying off, that is great and something to be celebrated. I'm glad you're doing it, man. All right, what's next?
From Anonymous. Hi, John. Was curious on your thoughts. Seeing as Sony owns Spider-Man films rights, could they not make a deal with Warner Brothers or DC to make a Batman Spider-Man one-off film? Or does Marvel still have some say how Sony can use Spidey? Thank you.
This will be very, very, very clearly restricted in the license agreement, right? Like you can lease a house from somebody. It's like, well, I'm leasing this house. I can tear down all the walls. No, you do lease the house and it does kind of belong to you during the term of the lease, but there are things you cannot do. And within the terms of the lease of that, like, yeah, there are going to be real restrictions. And Sony just being able to up and go do a crossover movie with DC is probably one of those things that would be prohibited and very clearly laid out in the lease agreement themselves. So no, they can't just do anything they want to do with the character. All right, good question though. All right, what's next?
From Alex, bold as love. Finally, the Cunning Fox is making a return. Variety reported a Zorro show is being developed for Disney Plus by Brian Cogman of Game of Thrones and starring Wilmer Valderrama. Can't wait. The Mask of Zorro shaped my love for movies and scores. R.I.P. Jay Horner.
Wilmer's a really funny guy. I met him. So he's from That 70s Show. And now in, what is it? Is it That 90s Show? Is that what they call it now? Yeah, that looks terrible, by the way. That looks just awful. I don't know about this. I listen, again, you got some great pedigree behind it. I hope it works. I will definitely give it a shot. I don't know if this is the one I would roll the dice on, but we'll see how it works. All right, what's next?
From Daniel Vasquez. Comic-Con is 1 week away. Woo woo!
Can't wait to go there.
CinemaCon. I keep saying the wrong thing.
Man, we're already in July.
Yeah. CinemaCon is 1 week away. Can't wait to go there for the first time and hope to run into and annoy you guys. Who in the crew are coming? Well, with that ringing endorsement, we don't want to say.
I'm going to Cinnamon Con. It's a little different.
Cinnamon Con is great. We do the Cinnamon Challenge every day, and someone will die.
Yeah.
Listen, I look forward to CinemaCon every year. I like it more. It is my number one event every year. I like it more than Comic-Con. I like it more than WonderCon. I like it more than anything. It's my favorite thing to go to. And every year I go with different people. Like one year was just me and Rob. The other year was just me and Aaron. Last year we took a couple more of us. Mm-hmm. So this year it's me. Anne for the first time is coming.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to see Anne in our daily videos with us. I'm really excited about that. So it's going to be me, Anne, Ray, Rob, and Chris. Me, Anne, Ray, Rob, and Chris. We're going to be doing daily videos. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, we're going to do a little bit of a preview of CinemaCon because all the major studios are doing an hour and a half to 2 hour presentations on all the films they have coming up in the next year. We are going to be seeing footage for movies that aren't even coming out for like a year from now. We're going to be seeing full screenings. We've got full presentations from Universal, from Paramount, from Disney, from Warner Brothers, from Sony, from Lionsgate. From like, they're all stuff that we're going to be doing. And then we're going to do full big live streams afterwards, doing our full breakdown of those presentations. Cannot wait.
Do you remember the first CinemaCon, John? Which I call it the best CinemaCon.
You came with me the first one.
The first one. And
That's
I remember the tickets.
The first one for us.
Like 500. Yeah, there was so much swag that first one. And then the next time I came, I think I skipped the next two. And then I came back and I was like, where's all the free stuff? That first one, they gave us free mice. And like mouse pads, everything, T-shirts, from
they got
everything.
So much swag. Now we get a big bag of candy. And I mean, literally, they give us a big bag of candy.
Well, and especially if you go to the trade floor the last day, they're just trying to get rid of all that candy. So you can just go in there and get piles of it.
But that first one was great because that first one, we sat down. That was the first time I met Ryan Reynolds. Yep. We sat down with Ryan Reynolds. We sat down with Ted Lasso.
That's where I met
Sudeikis.
Jason Sudeikis. You met Hugh Jackman
and
Colin
Sugar
Farrell.
Ray Leonard, baby.
Was that at that one?
Yep.
We also sat down. You met Colin Farrell. We met
Cameron Diaz was really.
Oh yeah, that's right. We sat down with Cameron Diaz.
Skinny. I was like, I can't believe how skinny this.
But she was also muscular.
Yeah.
Like really muscular. Anyway, yeah, that was our first one.
That was
a
great.
Good one.
Everyone showed out for that one.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
From Kay Helk Lee. Hi, John. Can we talk about Ready Player 2? I love Ready Player 1. Watch it several times. According to Box Office Mojo, it made $592 million on a $175 million budget and has a 72% fresh rating and 77% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Profitable and liked. Is Ready Player 2 coming?
I don't know, because I think, first of all, I never read the Ready Player 1 book.
I have 2 copies.
Do you?
Yeah, I haven't read either of them.
I'm going to have to borrow one.
I'll get it.
But Steven Spielberg was directing it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to see it. I loved the movie. I had so much fun with Ready Player 1. I thought it was great. But it didn't do what I think as much business as they were hoping it would do. So they might do the second one, but I don't think the book has done nearly as well as the first book did either, unless I'm mistaken. But I thought I remember that the second book did not sell nearly as well as the first book. So I don't know. I hope it does, but I don't see Steven Spielberg directing a sequel. And I'm not even sure they will do a sequel. So fingers crossed though, because I would personally like to see it. All right, what's next?
From Israel, King Tanek, what's up, buddy? I've always thought that they would introduce mutants at the end of Secret Wars. Have all of the multiverse merged back into one or a few universes, except now 616 is altered with mutants. The only ones who remember would be the ones involved in Secret Wars.
I mean, that has been a common thought that could be the natural opening for them, end of the Secret Wars, that one, that's who you bring in. However, they have done a few little things. They've already introduced us to Professor X, but more in line with the common MCU, Ms. Marvel has already been revealed to be a mutant. At the end of the Ms. Marvel series, they said, well, I looked into it. It seems you have some kind of mutation. And lest you think that is just a word, when he said the word mutation, subtly in the background, the music notes of the old X-Men theme played in the background. It's like, okay, so mutants are there. Here's the thing, King Tantic. It has been the billion-dollar question since the day Disney bought Fox. How are Marvel going to bring the X-Men in? And there's no good answer. But maybe it will be with that last final push in Secret War. Maybe they're going to set it up or something in Secret Wars brings that all to fruition. Or maybe they're going to say they've been there the whole time. Again, there's no perfect answer. Every potential answer has major compromises and drawbacks, but we'll see which one they go with. And maybe it is Secret Wars. All right, what's next?
From Razor ATX. Ari, underperforming Marvel movies. All my friends want to see Marvel movies, but they have no urgency to. They're fine waiting 2 months to see them on Disney Plus, and are sometimes just catching up on Disney Plus shows. So don't feel ready to go to the movie.
I mean, listen, that is one of the things. You'll get your more casual fans that will take that approach, for sure. I mean, more of the regular movie fans, they want to go to the movies and go see them at the movies. But here's the thing. The worse the movie gets, the less motivation people have to up and get out to the movies.
Of course.
So you go to movies and you have a disappointing time, you're less motivated to get out to the movies the next time. And if you do go the next time and have another disappointing time, then you're going to be a little bit less motivated to go the time after that. The opposite works. When you go to the movie and have a banger of a time, you're more likely to get out to the theater next time. And that is one of the big reasons why we always say a rising tide raises all ships, but when one company struggles, it can have a negative effect on everybody. And right now you're seeing both Marvel and DC struggle with putting out high quality stuff. And the more they struggle with putting out high quality stuff, the returns are dropping. People's interest is being waned because they're not putting out great content after great piece of content after great piece of content like they were just a couple of years ago.
Does Marvel still do the midnight release thing?
No.
Yeah, see that's another thing too that I noticed. They stopped doing that because
here's the thing though, they made it better because instead of releasing it at midnight, the way it used to happen is it would open on Friday, right? So at 12:01 a.m. they do a screening. But what happened is they didn't get rid of it. They just started making it earlier. So that 12:01 a.m. on Friday morning screening became 11 p.m. Thursday night, which then became 10 p.m. Thursday night, which then became 7 p.m. Thursday night, which is now like 4 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. So it's not that they don't do the midnight screenings anymore. It's just that they made it even earlier in the
Mario
day.
was the first midnight screening I've done in a long time, I think.
Yeah, that's right. We went to the midnight screening of it.
Actually.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, because it was short too, so.
Yeah.
Midnight
All right, what's
screenings,
next?
you lunatic. Been in bed for 4 hours at that point. Anonymous. Hey, John, our podcast hosts are big fans of your show. In episode 7, we get a scene where Din pledges service to Bo-Katan. In the scene, the Mandalorian theme plays for Bo. Do you think this was the passing of the torch for the titular Mandalorian?
No, because if Din was not a part of the scene, then that would make more sense. But you're having this this is a big point for Din in the series. When Din, because this is the first time we've really seen Din do this, when Din is having that conversation with Bo-Katan, and he says, I don't care about like whatever, bloodlines, whatever, I care about honor. And I care about the way like people conduct themselves. And that's why I serve you. And then that music plays, right? So I don't know if that music was even playing for Bo-Katan, although she is Mandalorian. Hell, she is the prime figure of the Mandalorians. I really think that music was playing for Din because that's a significant character moment for Din.
Or maybe she's just going to be a big part of the show from now on.
Well, she already has been this thing, but
she's really owned this whole series.
And when we got the finale tonight, so we'll see how it goes. All right, what's next?
Midnight viewings. You all are insane. From 21 Cabbage. Cliche, but my top 5 most anticipated. 1, Flash. I'm who wrote in they knew someone who saw it. After what they told me, it went from about 15 to 1. Number 2, Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, can't wait.
Thursday. 3, Spider-Verse. 4, Dune. Dune 2. 5, Flower Moon.
I am so excited about all of those films. Those, I know, not Chris so much with Evil Dead Rise.
With only Spider-Verse.
But I've been excited about Evil Dead Rise ever since before I saw any footage, anything, the news came out that Warner Brothers just looked at this movie, which was supposed to just get dumped directly to HBO Max. And they said, this movie's too good. We got to put this thing in theaters. It's too good. And then I started hearing from the film festivals it was playing at that everybody was raving about it. And then I saw the trailers for it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a huge horror guy, but my God, this looks like a tension-filled, nutty time at the movie theater. And I can't wait. Of course, Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon, also starring My Accountant's Wife. Can't wait to see her in that. Like a lot of good things. Spider-Verse, obviously. Spider-Verse. For me, 1 and 2, in no particular order, is Spider-Verse and Dune. I differ from day to day which one is my number 1 and which one is my number 2, but they're both up there. All right, what's next?
From Anonymous. Hi. Have you seen the photo leaks for the Wicked movie? I love that they're using real sets, not just CGI. I didn't love how John Chu directed In the Heights, but loved what he did for Crazy Rich Asians.
I'll tell you what, I did love what he did within the Heights.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not, unlike Hamilton, I didn't have any pre-existing knowledge of In the Heights. I knew it was a stage play. I had never seen it. I don't know that I'd ever heard any of the music for it. I went into In the Heights cold, and I loved it. Ann and I, I've told the story before, but at the end of the movie, as the music's playing, the credits are rolling, Ann and I literally got up and we were dancing in the aisle. I loved that movie. And I was really surprised that he was able to pull that off there. And I love Crazy Rich Asians. Fantastic. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, what's next?
From Zelda Master 702, currently 7:25 p.m. in Zelda Master World, and the box office actuals are in, and Mario actually made a whopping $92.35 million, taking a paltry 37% drop from last weekend. Mario appears to be superstarring its way to the $1 billion club.
Okay, so here's what happened. I get a question a lot of times, like when the box office number comes out on Sunday morning, a lot of people go, well, that's not even the full box office number because they didn't count Sunday. No, here's what happened. There are two box office weekend reports that come out. Sunday morning afternoon is when the weekend box office report comes out. Now that's an estimate. So what the industry does is they look at how much money the movie made on Friday and Saturday, and they're able to project what it's going to make on Sunday, and then they put out the report. Now, to their credit, 99% of the time, that projected report that comes out Sunday morning is like usually within $1 million. It is crazy and spooky how accurate those projections are. But now, Monday comes, and what comes is what's called the box office report actuals, which is now it's not projected. Now we actually have the numbers. And like I said, 99% of the time it's within like $1 million, but this is a case where it was like $5 million off. Instead of $87 million on the weekend, they're saying it made $92 million on the weekend, which drops it from a 40% drop, which was already an insanely amazing small drop from week 1 to week 2, from 40% down to 37%, which is even more crazy. The absolute dominance that Mario Brothers has at the box office right now is crazy. All right, what's next?
From Andy, since there's a lot of fan casting of Jensen Ackles as Batman and James Gunn is keeping some of the DCEU actors in his DCU, it'd be funny and cool if Gunn cast Jensen as Batman and kept Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne. Jeffrey Dean Morgan would be Batman's dad twice over.
For those of you who don't know, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I first came to really know him in Supernatural, where he plays the Winchester boys' dad, and he's recurring throughout the series here and there. I love him in that, and that would be funny. I love Jensen Ackles. By the way, his recent turn as Soldier Boy in The Boys is fantastic. I'll be honest with you, I don't see him as Batman. I just don't see him as Batman. But to have them back together again on screen as father and son would be kind of fun. All right, what's next?
From a man, one of two, came across 2 new shows recently and wanted to see if you've watched or heard about them. First is Extrapolation, currently airing on Apple TV. Not bad, but has a stacked cast, including Kit Harington, Daveed Diggs, Forrest Whitaker, Meryl Streep, and
I've
more.
never even heard of that.
Oh, the trailer for it looks wild.
What a cast.
Tons and tons of people. The other is The Peripheral, which aired in November on Amazon Prime. It's from the creators of Westworld and stars Chloe Grace Moretz. Now, this show is fantastic. I've seen 6 of the 8 episodes and have loved it. Great concept, great writing, highly recommend.
Okay, now, I saw the marketing for Peripheral, and I never watched it. And I thought, I'll wait to see what people are saying about it. I never heard anybody talk about it.
Same.
Like, not negative, not, oh my God, did you see that show Peripheral? Oh, it sucked. No, I never heard anybody say that. I never heard anybody say, man, that show Peripheral is really, really. I heard nobody talk about it, and it just kind of went out of my mind. So have any of you guys watched this?
No, I've seen the trailer for it, and it was one of those things of, oh, that looks interesting, and then I never heard about it ever again.
It looked interesting, but I had no idea what the show was about.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I'll just wait to see what people say about it, and I haven't heard anything. I might have to check it. Now, as far as the other one, I never even heard of it.
It's a lot
Exploration,
of
is that what it said it was called?
Extrapolation.
Extrapolation.
It's set in the future. It deals with a lot of climate change and things like that. It looks really, really interesting. There's just this one shot of people. I think it's in a synagogue where you see that it's flooded in there, and so like all of like the water's risen everywhere, and there's people who are all talking about like getting off planet or doing other things, and it seems really, really interesting. Very
I have to
charged.
check it out. All right, what's next?
From Amin. 2 quick questions. Regarding the Filoni Mandiverse film, what is the % chance they change it to a TV movie just for Disney Plus or release it as a limited series like Netflix's Defenders? Also, % chance that Luke shows up in it. I mean, it would make sense.
As you know what, I will give it a solid 40% chance that they move it to a Disney Plus movie. That's where all the material has lived before. Again, 60% that it goes theatrical like the plan is, 40% that they ended up putting on Disney Plus. I don't think they'll turn it into a limited series. I think they'll make it a movie. As far as the chances that Luke shows up, I don't know. Look, one of the knocks I've had against the whole Mandoverse, and I love the Mandoverse, but one of the knocks that I have against it is it's an awful lot of member berries. Everything is, look, everybody, remember that? I mean, there's a lot of that, and they got their biggest pop in all of their shows with Luke showing up. That was the biggest pop they got. So they went back to that well again in the Book of Boba Fett, and that kind of worked. I think there's a pretty good chance that Luke shows up. I give it a 65% chance that Luke shows up. All right, what's next?
From Anonymous. Hi, John and crew. Have you watched Beef on Netflix yet? It's another great for Netflix. No, I haven't yet.
Nope. And Ann and I decided we're going to start watching it this week. Like it's tough because Ann and I both have very, very busy schedules. And when we decide we're going to watch a show together, it takes some work that we both have like a couple of hours that we can sit down right now and watch this. So we're going to start it this week. Ann is a big Ali Wong fan. I think all of us are big Steven Yeun fans. I've heard nothing but magnificent things about Beef, so I haven't watched it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. All right, what's next?
From Dwarford.uk. Hey, John, with your idea of Nazi gold, that's a sentence. Do you think someone will try to use it to tempt Johnny Depp to do another Pirates movie?
I don't think they want Johnny Depp in a new Pirates movie.
No.
I mean, look, I'm going back before the UK trial, before the American trial, before all of that. What a lot of people forget was that Disney and a lot of studios were getting fed up with trying to work with Johnny Depp, period. I'm talking before the controversy and all the stuff with Amber Heard and all that kind of stuff. He was notoriously very difficult to work with. And a lot of that has to do with his substance abuse problems that he had. And I hope he's conquered those. So I honestly, despite, I heard Jerry Bruckheimer wants this, and okay, that's fine. I don't think, now I'm not saying what they should do or shouldn't do. All right. I'm not talking about what I personally think they should do or what they should not do. I'm just saying based on everything that I've heard, it honestly doesn't sound like, even the Amber Heard drama aside, I don't know that Disney wanted to work with Johnny Depp anymore before the drama. So I think it's not about whether or not they could give Johnny Depp enough money to come back. I don't think they would offer him anything to come back. And again, I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm not. Don't put words in my mouth. I just don't think they will. I don't think they want to work with them anymore. Anyway. All right, what's next?
From Dwarfer.uk. I keep hearing you say good Canadian kid. You're missing out the two most important people. Lead singer of the best band in the world, Nickelback, and the Bolt of Lightning.
Down.
Avril Lavigne. I believe she's from the same place as you.
Avril Lavigne is another good Canadian kid. He's a skater boy, a sensory later boy.
Out of all the songs.
We would need to have them be relevant and be a topic on the show for us to do that.
If they ever came up on the show, I would note they are a good Canadian kid, but Avril Lavigne surprisingly does not come up a lot on the John Campea show.
Not on the movie news
but
show.
I like her.
Yeah.
Didn't she marry like another musician?
She did.
She married like the drummer for some big band.
She was with the singer of Nickelback.
Was she with the singer of Nickelback?
I thought she was with
And then I believe they split up.
I thought she was with one of the guys from Blink 182.
No, I thought it was Sum 41.
Or you know what?
Yeah,
You're
Sum
right.
41.
You're right. It was Sum 40. One of the numbers.
Yeah.
One of the number bands. All right. What's next?
From Kakarot. I've been thinking all this talk about the quality of Marvel movies, and I found out that ever since 2019's Maleficent, Disney in general has not been all that great. Movies that should have been amazing after that were Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker. Good in my opinion, but could have been much better. Onward, good, but not remembered. Soul, good, but on Disney Plus, not remembered. Luca, good, not remembered. Black Widow, meh. Lightyear, so do you think this problem is deeper than we think with just Marvel, or something else is not working for Disney? First of all, Onward and Luca are wonderful films.
I loved
Onward.
Onward.
This bitch remembers.
I loved Onward.
So good.
I remember I watched that with Ann, and you probably would have too, Ray. But like,
He was sleeping.
the themes,
Like right now.
the themes of Onward were so powerful and beautiful, and Anne and Ray had lost their dad just a few years before my father-in-law.
Right.
We lost him just a few years earlier, and there's a beautiful, beautiful theme. If you hadn't seen Onward,
Is that the one with Chris Pratt and Tom
Tom
Holland?
Holland?
Yeah.
What's really unfortunate about that one too is it came out just as the pandemic was breaking out.
Exactly.
Oh, right.
And
right.
it just shut movie theaters down. But there's a beautiful theme about a couple of brothers desperately trying to get, who had lost their dad and just trying to get one more day with their dad. They're trying to get one more day with their dad.
I got to see that.
And so I wish you were there when I saw it with Anne, because like Anne, in a very positive way, because it was so beautiful, Anne was like weeping,
Of course.
Yeah.
like crying.
I
the whole
wouldn't. I
movie.
wouldn't see her not weeping.
And-
something like
But she also
And-
cried at Mario Brothers.
It's and it's basically a Dungeons and Dragons movie. Like it really
Yeah.
is. Onward's basically, so that movie was beautiful. I liked Luca. I think I think a lot of it had to do with the new system, the power that was taken away from creatives, the call by Disney, particularly under Bob Chapek, to increase the amount of content that was being produced. And we saw how that played out at Marvel. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely more of a systemic problem. But like Chris just said, I would contend that a number of those projects were actually pretty good.
Yeah, and I really think a lot of it was just because of the pandemic. I mean, if they had been in theaters, I think Onward would have been huge, huge. And I think it's a wonderful film. Also, Luca, the best way to watch it is you make the same pasta that they eat in that movie, and then you have a great time.
All right, what's next?
From Jai CSC, with all other variables being equal, such as Dolby sound, seat comfort, ideal seat location, 80% occupancy, what size theater screen would you rather watch a movie on? One that seats less than 50, between 50 to 200, between 200 to 350, or 400 plus?
Okay, it would depend on the kind of movie. If it was a horror movie, I would love like a 50 to 100 seat theater where you can really hear people's reactions, like individuals, like eeks and screeks and stuff like that. For a really good dramatic movie, the mid-sized theaters. For the event movies, I want a football stadium. Like when I'm watching Avengers Endgame, or I'm watching a new Superman, or I'm watching like a new Star Wars movie, I want a football stadium. I want to be with the crowd. I want to be with the masses. So it all depends on the type of movie you're watching.
The problem is that he said all things being equal in reality, as the theater gets smaller, the picture quality goes down, and so does the sound.
Yeah, that's true. All right, what's next?
From Stubble McShave, if Disney Marvel drops Majors, what happens with Loki season 2?
Yeah.
To my knowledge, it's already been shot. Will they reshoot all his scenes with a new actor? Or maybe cut in a way to minimize Kang's presence? Or just keep him in the show even if he's recast?
Okay, so that question poses a massive hypothetical, okay? That hypothetically, if Disney drops Jonathan Majors, and by the way, right now we have no indication that they will. Okay, let's be clear about that. With that being said, and engaging the hypothetical, I don't know how they don't just cancel it. Because from what I understand, and the information I have could be wrong, but from what I understand, Jonathan Majors is a major, no pun intended, a major presence in Loki season 2. And it's not just like, what was the movie again with Chris Plummer?
All the money in the world.
Yeah, it's not like All the
Right.
Money in the World, where Kevin Spacey was just in a little bit of the movie, and they were able to just bring Christopher Plummer and replace it. And Christopher Plummer ended up getting an Academy Award
Yeah,
nomination.
he's
for that.
incredible in that film.
Oh, the late great Christopher Plummer, good Canadian kid.
He's gonna.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think he's just starting to take him out.
Yeah. He's just being like, Canadian. Yeah.
But I mean, this is, from what I understand, Loki season 2 is not that situation. Loki apparently, or Jonathan Majors is in a lot of that show, which means it would be incredibly expensive to reshoot it. And I honestly cannot help but wonder if they just pull the plug on it. Again, this is all the question itself is based on a massive, massive, massive hypothetical of something that very well may not happen at all. But theoretically speaking, I wonder if they wouldn't just cancel the whole show. Unless something happens in the show that is absolutely necessary for the future MCU projects. But I don't know if that'll be the case.
Yeah.
All right, guys, is that it?
Yep.
Guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those tip questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Now, I'm sure some of you guys have been firing some questions maybe in the last couple of hours. Don't worry if you did and we didn't get around to them. We'll probably just kick off the show with those questions tomorrow. So for everybody in the room, Ray, or of course, Jen's back there has been helping us out. Jonathan running the show. Chris, as always, lightening things up. And most importantly, you guys, thank you so much. My name's John Campea. And until tomorrow, my friends, bye-bye.